a cabaret theater called the Crystal Palace, and among the people they presented very, very early in their careers, in fact, at the outset of their careers, Mike Nichols, Elaine May, Barbara Streisand, the Smothers Brothers, Lenny Bruce. It was quite a place to be for a kid growing up. But of course, we really come to the APAP conference to see all of the amazing work that is being showcased across the city, from Culture Mart at the Here Arts Center to PS 122's Coil and the Under the Radar Festival at the Public Theater. As the chairman of the NEA, I'm not allowed to have favorites or play favorites, but my wife Debbie was on the board of the Public Theater, so that's a special place for me. And art and artists are at the core of what all of us are about. In fact, as soon as I finish up, we'll get to see two actual artists up here on stage. And more than anyone, I'm able to hear directly from Elizabeth and Paul. But first, I've been asked to talk with you about my own perspective on this conference's theme: risk, opportunity, now. Whenever I see a group of three words together, three things together, I immediately think trifecta. As an old horse player. And that trifecta neatly sums up pretty much all of my endeavors to date: running a hedge fund, owning and betting on racehorses, and certainly Broadway producing. Broadway producing is probably the riskiest of all of those. In fact, I have no doubt that it's, those of you who are involved in it know that fewer than 20%, between 15 and 20% of all shows that are mounted on Broadway recoup their investment. Charlotte St. Martin is in the audience here now. She's hating my saying that, but it is a high-risk, low-return business, and people do it because they love it or they're crazy or whatever. But risk is part of the title for this afternoon. Risk, opportunity, and now also serves as a leitmotif for my time to date at the NEA. And it is what each of you encounter and deal with every single day. Our present circumstances in the arts are probably riskier than they have ever been. Traditional audiences for traditional art forms are shrinking. Financial support from every quarter is contracting. And as organizations and institutions are forced to lay off staff, the already thin ecology that supports the arts in this country is stretched even closer to the breaking point. The rational and perfectly appropriate response to bad news is discouragement. And believe me, I do feel that from time to time. But I, for one, have never been accused of being either rational or perfectly appropriate. As those of you who know me well know too well. And very few of you have been either. So what should be our response to the present risk and opportunities? It is the irrational and inappropriate one, in my opinion: optimism. Optimism is what caused Abby Aldrich Rockefeller and Little Bliss to found the Museum of Modern Art in 1929 at the depth of the Great Depression. It is what caused Alana Heiss to found the PS1 Center for Contemporary Art in Long Island City in 1976, as New York City teetered literally on the brink of bankruptcy. And it is why all of you are here, looking for new work to present, despite everything you are confronting. Although January 20th, 2009 now seems like a very long time ago, and it does. It was the hope and optimism of our president that made me so excited to sign on as a part of this administration. In fact, my first interview at the White House was with Valerie Jarrett in the West Wing. I did a rather odd thing. I brought a prop, being a theater guy. I think that's a reasonable thing to do, which I placed down on the table in front of me. It was a book written 3 decades ago by a zoologist with the impossibly perfect name of Lionel Tiger. He wrote another book of zoology with a partner, a guy named Robin Fox. 1979. And it had what I thought was a very compelling, and still think is a very compelling title. It was called Optimism, the Biology of Hope. And the book made what now seems to me to be an obvious point, that optimism is a core survival mechanism of the species. In fact, I don't think it was an accident that when the president wrote his book, he called his The Audacity of Hope. I I think that was more than just a felicitous expression that he got from the Reverend Wright's sermon. I think it was the very heart of what he hoped to do as president and in public life. But I do think that optimism is something very fundamental to who we are. It is hardwired into our DNA. It may be unrealistic, misguided, maybe even irrational, but it is vital. It is essential for our human activities. It is, I think, put into us for a purpose. Every day we make decisions because we assume, often foolishly and mistakenly and wrongly, we assume a positive outcome. We get married, sometimes more than once. We have children. We choose careers and change careers. We buy stocks. We bet on horses. We accept the chairmanship of federal agencies. You name it. We do things that don't make any sense to do. We assume a positive result. In my own field, and those of you who are here will relate, I talked about how Broadway shows return their investment 20% of the time. Well, why would people invest in such a thing? Why would somebody do that? And the people who invest, they know the odds. They're not stupid. They're calculating people. Why do they invest? They do it because they're optimistic. They can't help themselves. They fall in love with the project. They think it's going to work out. They think there's going to be a positive result. Sometimes people even run for president. Sometimes they even win. And then I think we will lay the groundwork for what I believe will be the most art-supported administration since Roosevelt. And after all, art is the most optimistic of activities. The ballerina standing on point, or being hurled high into the air. Lovers breaking into song in musicals. What a silly thing when that happens, but it's an unbelievably optimistic moment. Painters rendering success in war or hunting or creating religious imagery, or the exuberant discovery of new forms and shapes, the thrilling, spontaneous rhythm of the jazz saxophonist, the emotional release of comedy, even tragedy in the Aristotelian sense of catharsis and lessons learned. Optimistic all, a deliverance from necessity and limits and everyday determinism. There's grandeur in art, there's boldness, there's change, and we as human beings need that. Michelle Obama said in what I felt was a very important speech at the G20 summit, I'm quoting, "We believe strongly that the arts aren't somehow an extra part of our national life, but instead, we feel that arts are at the heart of our national life." How true. Yet in a sense, the arts are an extra, not in the sense meant by our congressional critics, but extra as in extraordinary. A necessity if our lives are to be more than ordinary. And I think it is fair to say that the president was looking for something other than ordinary when he made a somewhat surprising out-of-left-field choice to head the NEA. That would be me. And just about 5 months ago, I walked into my office at the NEA and walked into a better situation than any of my predecessors did because of the heavy lifting that they had already done. Bill Ivey and Dana Joy worked tirelessly to build strong relationships on Capitol Hill and to reestablish the NEA as a respected bipartisan agency with a presence in every state and congressional district. To put any lingering perceptions of the NEA as an agency, to put to bed any lingering perceptions of the NEA as an agency that was about black-tie galas and travertine marble, they really worked tirelessly to extend the reach and create what we really now view as a highly democratized and accessible NEA. The NEA has, in fact, never been more ubiquitous or more dedicated to the accessibility of the arts for all Americans. And they did this generally by keeping their heads down